Cheers. Thank you so much, everyone. Welcome. Thank you for coming out. As said, my name is Mark Forrest. Just want to say thank you for stopping in and checking out the seminar today. Today, what we're going to be talking about is just exploring Ontario by personal watercraft. It's a venture that I like to get into, and I've been really keen on it for the last several years now. So with that, about 5 years ago, I had gone out and done a trip for the first time to go over to Parry Sound and explore the area over there, and was absolutely blown away with how beautiful it was. For the longest time, I've had a cottage on Georgian Bay. I've kind of just gone around the area, didn't really explore too far, but for some reason I just decided I wanted to try and get out and see more with it as I got comfortable having a personal watercraft. In that, I regret that I did not film that first time I went out there, because I should have documented it, but that's what got me started into actually documenting all my travels, just so I could remember when I'm sitting at home in an old age home, reminiscing about the young days, I could say, well, I did this video, I was there, I saw this. So that was kind of the start of the whole idea of coming up with the channel. From there, though, it's really grown into dealing with exploring and showing other people the amount of beauty and places that we can all explore together while out on personal watercraft. Reason I go with personal watercraft is you can get to places that you cannot get to with boats. It gives you an opportunity to see some of the most beautiful backwaters and big waters that you have. With that, when I got started, the reason why I've been able to do this is SeaDoo came out with about in 2019 a new hull design called the ST3 hull. With that hull design, it gives you a ton of reliability, a lot of stability to it. As you can see, I'm a large guy. I can stand in the, whoops, go back. Where's the laser pointer thingy? I can stand in the gunnel here on one side of the actual SeaDoo and not take on water. It won't roll over on you, so extremely stable. With that, it also came with the ability to extend your travel distances by having what they call the link system that SeaDoo exclusively has. With that, you can see here is I was able to now install a cooler onto it, a gas can, as well as a little extra bag. So they have this linking system to do it. Again, it's able to go out in multiple seasons and get you into places that you really can't get into by boat. On that, they have, like I said, speaking of the system, some of the gears to help you and add-ons to help you get out and explore and enjoy and be safe on the water. We're going to start over here on the left-hand side. On this new SeaDoo model with the ST3 hull, they actually have, instead of having to reach over your handlebars to get into your compartment, the actual whole handlebar front lifts up itself to open up the storage bin here. In this storage bin, I'm able to put a 20-liter gas can into it, as well as on top of that, all of my camping equipment. So we're talking about, you know, obviously tents nowadays, they get nice and small, but you can get a tent, there's a sleeping bag. I've got a fishing kit in there as well. And then they also have this mesh holder. A lot of it you can see I've got for flares, anchors, sunscreen, and then I usually put my keys and my wallet in there. It is a waterproof cabinet. There is a sill around it to keep it from getting water into it, so that is a great feature to it right there. The other slides that we're looking at are add-ons that are aftermarket. These aren't sold by SeaDoo, but through a company that I found down in Florida called B&S Design. What they are is they're plates that can have the link attachments to them, and then you can actually secure them directly to the SeaDoo using its own screws that you have built into the deck. So with that, the one reason why I chose this model is I like it for the fact the simplicity of it and the look of it. It's a very sleek look. It doesn't stand out, so even if you're just kind of going around on the lake and you don't want to take it off, it doesn't stand out like some of the ones that they have. You have a metal cage that they have to bolt onto the back of it. Yamahas and Kawasaki's are known for having those ones. And to me, it's just a bit of a bulky design. It does impede if you're not driving around. You know, there is little wind resistance to it. It does create noise, whereas with this system, very sleek, very easy to do. Yeah, well, depending on what setup you want to do. So you can either do this one plate right here, which then you can still have your seat out there, Or if you want to extend to the 3, then yeah, you would take the seat off. What I usually do is I've bought all 3, so it's this and this plate are 2 different plates. They're not attached. So what I've done recently, if I'm going out for a solo trip, is I'll set it up in this module right here to give me the best amount. The reason why I like that, and I didn't do the add-on of the Fish Pro back, is it keeps your weight forward, so you're kind of more balanced on the SeaDoo. The further you put, like, you know, you fill that up with ice, water, your food and everything for a couple days, you'll start to get a lean to the SeaDoo, and it'll not act as it should and not give you the best fuel efficiency for when you're going out there. To counteract that with what I've got here is, again, with having a 20-liter fuel can in the front, it does help to level it out, so you get a nice balanced ride while you're going. And it just gives you that little bit of, the hull is meant to deal with waves quite well. But what will happen is in little chop, if you don't have that extra weight in the front, the boat will have a little bit of a drift to it. I've found with keeping that 20-liter in there, one, the safety of just having extra gas with you when you're out there, you can never count that out. And 2, it does actually help with the ride that you're going on. So that's what I've done for, you know, some of the add-ons that you can do with the system.
Can I ask you one question?
Yeah.
With all the additional gas and stuff like that, how many days can you?
With the amount of gas that we get on, you know, so in this, I'm adding 20 liters, 35 liters of gas extra. So that's pretty much just over half a tank of extra gas on it. Again, I've gone a day and a half, 2 days out in the backcountry doing it. Just depends on what you're driving, how fast you're driving, and really the wind and wave conditions. If you have good weather, you can go a lot farther on a single tank. Usually in some of the videos I've done, you'll see where I fill up once every 2 days. And I can go, like I said, on this module, you know, I really don't even want to touch the 15 liter. That I always try to leave as an emergency worst case scenario. So I'll use up my 60 liters or 70 liters of actual tank gas. And then when I'm getting low, I'll drop in the 20, knowing that if I put a 20 in, I have to find a marina just to restock everything, probably, you know, sooner than later. And again, always bearing on weather, and we'll get into kind of the weather situations in a second. Probably the best add-on that I can ever recommend to getting onto it, and you can put these, you can retro them to other models, but with SeaDoo has the Garmin EchoMap 62 CV. Right now, they're selling the 72 CV. It's the upgraded one. They moved to that about a year ago. The only difference between the two of them is the 62 has touchscreen, or is all manual touching. The 72 is touchscreen. I wasn't a fan. I've tried the 72 out. I wasn't a fan of it. It still works great, works just as good as this one, but as soon as you get wet hands or there's water on the screen, it does become a little bit finicky in regards to controlling it. With this system, like I said, it was probably the best add-on that I've ever done to the SeaDoo. One, it gives you the ability to track where you're going. This model actually has a transducer on it, so I'm able to see my depth of where I am, especially if you're going into waters that you don't know or you've never ridden before. Having that added feature of safety is a great thing. Again, you want to be able to, it has the ability to track where you've been by leaving a breadcrumb to it. So again, if you're in areas and waters that you don't know, as long as you theoretically made it there first safely, you can make it back following the same line safely. It has the ability to do, like I said, fish finding. So if you want to get into the fishing aspect of it, you can have that to it as well. But again, it just mounts directly onto the SeaDoo. It comes as a kit from BRP. So you buy the Garmin, plus there's a holder that attaches to where the mirror would be. So all they do is take the mirror off and put this one on, 2 bolts, run the wires to your battery. Easy install. You can do it yourself if you want to, but I always make the dealers do it, so that way if it goes wrong, it's on them. Warranties. So the next thing I get asked about, and I spend a lot of time, is searching for ramps. That's the one real thing that we got to get into, is finding places to actually launch from. It's the greatest idea to go out and explore, but if you can't find a ramp or you're just driving around looking for places, it becomes a bit frustrating. I've spent many of a year, and during work, don't tell my boss, because, but most of the time it's just looking around on Google, kind of searching. And so I'd start with your Google map, like, okay, I'd be interested to go around here. Then you zoom into, okay, well, it looks like there's a ramp here. And then I was able to go down to a street view on some of them to see, it's not a great idea of what it is, but at least it's a starting point. So from there, I did more research into it, and I found, surprisingly, the Ontario government has come up with something that's actually useful. They created a website called Fish Online. So this is mostly in regards to helping fishermen discover lakes to go to for fishing. But I was fooling around on it, and I actually found a feature on the left-hand side of the map that allows you to search for boat ramps in Ontario. So these are all ramps that are registered through the Ontario government, has got some kind of idea about them. A lot you'll run into are private ones, a lot of them are public ones, municipality ones, so some have more detail when you click into them than others do, but it's at least a really good way to start looking around for things. In this case, you can see this is Lake Muskoka, Rosso, and Joseph, so plenty of ramps around there. Same with down in the Midland and Penetanguishene area. As well as on this side, we've got ramps around here in the GTA right by the water. The one thing people ask me is like, oh, well, you'll see a ramp way up here north of the 401. Like, well, what's that about? So those I've found and dug into are, there's small lakes for the conservation areas that you could actually put like a kayak in. So that still counts as a ramp to them. Again, more of an idea of just that you can see that there are ramps pretty much everywhere we need to go. You've got the Kawartha Lakes, Lake Simcoe has ramps all around it. In that, it's how you check for the ramp itself. So once you decide, okay, well, I found a ramp that's in the area that I want to go, we're going to look at right here, which is the Gravenhurst ramp. With that ramp, it gives you a breakdown on the side here. So is there parking there? Yes. Is it owned by the municipality? And then it says a material type. It'll tell you it's a concrete ramp. It'll give you a breakdown, usually if it's a dirt ramp, concrete ramp, and just so you know kind of what you're going into. Again, that leads to doing that visual check, taking that time just to kind of go onto Google. It's great to have this feature that you can, again, do a zoom in on the ramp and see all the parking that they have there, so you get an idea. You get a visual idea of what the area looks like before you get there, just so you have an idea of where to go when you get there. Sometimes it can get overwhelming. You've got 5 or 6 other boats lining up. You want to make sure that you know where you're going and not any cause of slowing things down. Another thing I do recommend when going to ramps, especially in the spring and obviously on the northern ramps, is that you actually get out and check the ramp. On these lakes that freeze up, that have concrete pads, when you see the sign that says concrete pads, sometimes the concrete will shift on you, so what you knew last year may be different than this year. I ran into that with this ramp right here, where there's about a 2-foot gap between 2 of the pads. When I was backing up, I got my wheels my wheels fell into the gap, and the SeaDoo just went shooting off the back. I was already in the water, but the SeaDoo went shooting off, and luckily I had it tied up to the car, otherwise that thing would have just taken off on me and drifted away. So again, a good reason to always make sure when you're launching to have a rope or someone there with you with a rope to secure it, because sometimes things like that happen. Again, once you're at the ramp, knowing your etiquette in regards to what to do, making sure you start at the staging area. We've all seen the people that kind of don't really know what they're doing. Don't be that person. Take your time. Make sure that you're kind and respectful to everyone at the ramp. Going slow. You're driving a SeaDoo or a small watercraft, so in doing that, it's a lot trickier to maneuver backwards. It will tend to drift on you a lot quicker than a boat would. So by the time you start seeing that you're out of alignment, it's already almost too late. You got to make sure that you're not seeing it in your mirrors to help you get down. If you have a backup camera, those are great for it, but again, remember, don't just focus on that. I'll show you a ramp coming up where tourists are running past you all the time. If you're not looking around as well, they don't care that you're backing up. They're just crossing in front of you like there's no tomorrow. So when we're going out, the key things you got to look for is obviously wind and weather. We are on a personal watercraft. It is an open vessel, so you are affected by wind and weather a lot more than a boat would be. What you're trying to look for is wind directions, and obviously you want to make sure that you're dealing with weather and that you've got an idea of what the forecast is for the day or weekend that you're going for. Then what I found is in talking to a lot of marinas and other people, an app called Ventuski that they all use at marinas to help with wind conditions. It's probably been the best app that I've used and website that I've used for the accuracy in regards to the wind predictions and directions. I would put it that I've had a 90+ percentile accurate rate on this versus other apps that are out there. So if you're planning your day, this is one of those ones where you can have a quick glance at it and say, well, okay, the wind is all coming out this way, so probably not going to go up here for that day. But like I said, you can see a lower section of wind right here, so maybe you could go out to the Kawartha Lakes. You can see down here along Lake Erie, it's a light wind day, so it gives you the ability to kind of start predicting where you'd like to go in advance for the day, so you're ready to go and not kind of guessing at the last minute. With that, knowing wind and the direction that wind is coming from is very important, especially again on a personal watercraft, because you can get in a lot of trouble really quickly. Tobermory is one of the great examples where if you have a wind direction coming from the north or northeast, it's coming right onto these large cliffs here, and it's coming all the way across Georgian Bay, so it's really picking up a lot of energy. It becomes extremely dangerous in there because of the reflection waves that come off the cliffs. It can knock you off in a second, and it's freezing cold water up there. The whole point of going to Tobermory is you want to be able to actually get right up to the cliffs, so you want a day where the wind is more out of the southwest, coming across and going over the cliffs, because then you can get right up to them and touch them and still have 30 feet of water beneath you, and it's just an amazing place for that. So knowing the direction the wind's coming from and how it's being affected is important. With that, like I said, you can see here in Muskoka, again, it's an east-northeast wind coming across. A lot of people are like, well, 10, 15 kilometers, oh, it's going to be really rough out there. What I say is if you're coming, as long as you stick to or know that the best way to do it is stay to the offshore wind side of the lake, you'll end up with a pretty good day out on the water. Obviously, like I said, a lot of the lakes and everything we have up here are protected by trees, and there's a good amount of vegetation up there that will actually protect the wind for a certain amount of shoreline once you know where the wind direction is coming from. Lake Ontario, again, like I said, this is all going along the shore here, so you're going to have a lot of waves here. The thing that a lot of people ask me is like they'll be up here at their house and there's no wind at all, and they go, oh, it's going to be a beautiful day, I'm going to go down to the lake. They get down to the lake and it's absolutely windy and rough, and they're like, I don't understand what happened. So using the app to see the difference between no wind there and lots of wind down there is very helpful to you. Another app that I use, especially for weather, once I'm out on the water, is called My Radar. You can download it right to your phone and check it while you're out on the water. It's been the most accurate in regards to finding storm cells and keeping an eye on what weather is doing for you and timing your day out. Usually in the summertime, as we know, you get into the July and August, and mid-afternoon, all of a sudden a quick thunderstorm may kick up and rip through. So keeping an eye on your weather through that really helps in regards to making sure you're safe on the water for your day out on the water. So now we're going to talk about the 10 places that I recommend to explore, going off of a variety of skill sets and just what you're looking for in regards to a nice day out on the water. So with Ontario being as large as Ontario is, there's a lot of choices that you can make in where to go and a lot of places to actually explore. One thing I usually tell people is if you're looking for a day trip kind of situation, most of the riding that you want to do is going to be within a 2-hour drive there and a 2-hour drive back. In regards to that, you can go from pretty much down in Lake Erie all the way around up to about Parry Sound, in around to Tobermory is about 3 hours, but into around Parry Sound you can do in about less than 2 hours, or you can get out to Kingston. So this whole area right here is all within a day trip. You can leave early in the morning, get to the ramp about 9 o'clock, go out, spend 6-7 hours on the water, get back in the afternoon, you're home by 7 or 8 o'clock at night, have a nice dinner, you had a great day. So again, going back to the weather and making sure you plan that, make sure you see, well, I could either go here or do I want to go here using the weather. So the first place I recommend checking out is Tobermory. Tobermory is an absolute beautiful place to get to. The scenery there is mind-blowing. And if you can see up here, just the crystal clearness of the water that you get up there is unbelievable. We all call it the Caribbean of the North because it looks beautiful. I will tell you, the water is not as warm as the Caribbean. It is freezing cold up there because it's so deep. But you have the ability to kind of explore, and you can see, I mean, there's obviously large rocks in the water where a regular boat can't quite get into or would be risky for them. With the SeaDoo, you can actually get into these small areas and actually find your own little grotto, your own little place to pull over, tie up to, have a lunch, go for a snorkel. You don't just have to, ride around. It could be a whole day experience. And again, with the clearness of the water, just the photo opportunities are amazing. The one thing with it, again, I do state is wind direction is very important to be taking into mind. You don't want any wind coming from the north or the east because it will hit these and just become absolutely unsafe to go out to. When you're up there, you also have the ability to go out to Flower Pot Island. It's just right there. Again, probably about a 5-minute ride off of shore, so it's not too bad. You've got Cove Island. There's an old lighthouse on there that you can get off and explore. So just a lot of different things to see in a beautiful area of Ontario that not a lot of people and boaters get out to see because they just think there's not much up there. With that, there's a couple places to launch from. The one that I recommend the most is Dyers Bay. It's a small, sleepy little community that's up there that has a government dock. The only thing with this dock is it is very steep. It is a concrete pad, but it also has quite a bit of fall off. So you have to be very good with backing up and controlling your car and your SeaDoo, because if you go too far, your trailer will go off and then you're into a huge amount of trouble. If you look at the dock is right here to launch from. Unfortunately, the parking is all the way back up here. It's about a 2-minute walk up a hill. So at the end of the day, after you've been out, your legs can be burning when you're going through to do that, but it's not too bad. With that, the one thing I will say that for some reason, well, I know the reason why, but a lot of times people will be driving in. So you're driving in from here, you come down and you get to the ramp and you launch and then you walk up to the parking. You think you're going to pay for the parking right there. Well, no. They put the pay for parking way back up here and on the other side of the road so that you don't really see it when you're coming in. So if you're ever going to Dyers Bay, remember you must stop up here to get the paying. Reason they did that is because there's a cliff here. They couldn't get cell signal to the machine. So they had it put there, but it was always offline, so everyone was parking for free. So they moved it up there. Now, why it's on the wrong side of the road beats me, but that's where it is. Again, it is a bit of a sleepy community, so they prefer if you just get in and get out, not linger. They have no problem with you launching there, but again, don't spend too much time at the ramp. It's a small community of elderly people that don't like the noise of all that's going on, but enough that they respect that we're doing it. The next one is going to be Lion's Head. That one is a little further south from Tobermory. Again, you can go from Lion's Head all the way to Tobermory and back. If you do that, you do need to get gas in Tobermory. Even taking the 35 extra liters, if you did do it, might not be enough just because of the water conditions and waves and wind. It's just, you might be best to top up a little bit in Tobermory. This one is a municipal ramp. There is a bit of parking here. Again, not too much, but a good ramp to use. The one that is there's a ramp here in Tobermory that you can see here. Again, concrete pad, it's very nice. I do not, for the life of me, recommend going to this ramp at all unless it is a dire emergency. Because one, in the summertime, if you've ever been up to the road, this is a tourist mecca. There's hundreds of people crossing along here to this pathway here. They don't care that you're backing your boat up. It is very risky. Second thing is they charge a lot of money to it because it's up there. Third thing is you launch here, the parking lot you have to walk is all the way up here. So it's about a 5-minute walk to your SeaDoo or back to your boat. In that, if you can see, that's the size of the dock they give you to tie up to. So there's not much room. So I've seen other people that undo your boat and move it just so that they can back up and launch. which is crazy. So again, this is why it's a good ramp, but if you can go to either of these other two, highly recommend it, because I went to this once and I swore I'd never go back. But I'll show you it because it's there. Next place we're going to talk about is the Upper Niagara River. This is a wonderful place for a little bit of exploring. You can get out onto some big water of Lake Erie. You can be protected in the river itself. In the summertime, it's actually quite nice to swim in. There's a bit of a current to it, so there's a couple spots that people anchor up and just have a nice float. It's not too deep. Usually what we do is the two ramps that we're going to talk about are right here. There's one here in Chippewa and the other one down here in Crystal Beach. Usually what we like to do is go out, and you can go over and cross into the U.S. side of the water. You do not need to have check in with customs. As long as you do not land or tie up to shore, you can go into U.S. waters with your boat. We've gone all the way into Buffalo and up the Buffalo River. Again, as long as you're not tied up or landing on shore, you don't need to check in with customs. Now, there are wonderful restaurants in Buffalo that are right on the water. So if you do need to do it, there's a mobile app that the U.S. government has, MPC, which is like a login. You can pre-register your passport. You just send them a request. They'll call you on FaceTime or on a video call, confirm who you are, and you're good to go. And then, like I said, you've got the Peace Bridge here, which allows to have a little fun in some of the rapids that are on the Upper Niagara River. They're not anything like the rapids in the Lower Niagara River, which you see probably videos of people going in there and seeing Devil's Hole and the whirlpool and all that. These are a little more manageable. The only thing I will say is you got to be really careful during the weekend when you got a lot of boaters out there. It starts creating different wave patterns that can be a little bit tricky, but still fun to go through. And it's nice to say that you've gone under the Peace Bridge, and it's a kind of a beautiful shot right there. You can also go up the canal almost all the way to where the actual Welland Canal is and go up the river here. And you can actually be sitting here and see the huge liners going through the canal. With that, there's two ramps that I recommend to it. So the first ramp is Chippewa. That's located right up here on the Welland River part of it. That gets you out just above the falls, so you can actually see the spray of Niagara Falls when you come out from there. There's a buoy system that crosses the water here that you are not to pass. It triggers off both RCMP and U.S. Coast Guard to start, investigating why you're going that close to the falls. So just be mindful of that. And there's current. So even if you stop to try and take a photo of it, you will continue to drift. So just pay attention to where you are in relationship to that. But again, you can go up the river or you can go out onto the main water. The Chippewa boat ramp is a free ramp. It's got tons of parking to it, concrete pad, very nice ramp. The one thing I will warn people about is that this river here has quite the current. It's what's feeding the power plants at Niagara. So again, lesson learned for keeping a rope on your SeaDoo. I put mine in and it got out past the protection of the dock and just whoop, turned on me. I was like, oh, wake me up pretty early in the morning when that happened. So, but again, a beautiful ramp with, like I said, concrete pad to it. Easy to get in and out. It does get a bit busy in the afternoon with locals, but again, they're quite kind and mindful of everyone taking boats out. The other one, if you want to get onto Lake Erie and kind of go start down and see some lighthouses and hit some big water, do some fishing or whatever you'd like, is Crystal Beach. Again, a beautiful, nice, well-maintained ramp, concrete pad, good docking system. This one is a paid one. I think it's like $12 to $15 to get in for that. Includes your ramp fee plus parking at the location. The only thing with this one is it's quite popular with fishermen. So early in the morning, this could be fully packed. Usually by about 9 o'clock when they're all coming off the water, it's opened up. So if you're looking for just an easy day, as long as you show up after 9, there's usually plenty of parking. And again, same thing, they start showing up around 5 or 6 to go out for the evening. So just plan your day getting back in so you're not waiting to get in and out of the water. Next one is a beautiful place to explore, which is Lake Muskoka. Obviously, for obvious reasons, it's got absolutely beautiful cottages and scenery and housing there. You might see a celebrity, who knows, right? It's a fun time up there. But the problem that I find with it is I only really like to go on Lake Muskoka after Labor Day, just because one, you get the beautiful fall colors that are up there, and two, you don't have the boat traffic like you do in June, July, and August. June, July, and August, or especially July and August on Lake Muskoka and Rosso and Joseph, you could have the most calmest day with no wind and absolutely beautiful conditions. By 11 o'clock in the morning, there's more boats ripping one way or another on these lakes than you'll ever see, and it becomes absolutely a nightmare for boat wakes. So if you're trying to go for a nice, easy, relaxing day on the water, like I said, you're always having to pay attention. It's a rough day on the water, even though the weather might be good. So after Labor Day, I highly recommend this launch and seeing this area of the waters. From that, there's a couple options. I truly like going out of Gravenhurst. When it puts you, it's quick to get to from Toronto. You can be there in about an hour and a half. The parking and the launch are free, which is an amazing thing. There is parking right here. If this gets full, over on you come out and go around the road, all of this is open for parking as well. So lots of parking in the area and a good, decent ramp. Like I said, though, check ramps up in this area because they do tend to you'll get separation or drifting on the concrete pads, so just make sure you check it out first. Next one is if you've gone out of Gravenhurst a lot and you want to start really exploring Joseph and Rideau Lake, or Rosling, is Port Carling has a nice little ramp to it. The main town of Port Carling is right here. The ramp itself is just a little bit south of it, so you can actually get on here, go through the lock system that they have there, and you're up into the two Rosso and Joseph. And you can explore those lakes while missing all of Muskoka if you've already done it through Gravenhurst. Then again, if you're coming from the north or depending on what direction, at the top of Lake Rosso is a small municipality boat ramp. Again, decent shape, concrete pad, nice to get to, but very limited parking to it. So again, it's kind of a get there while you can if you want to go out on it. Next one is Lake Nipissing and the Upper French River. This lake looks daunting, and it was very daunting to me when I looked at it, especially if you're looking on a map. Everything seems like it's really far away. First thing that I did was I went up to North Bay, and from there I made a passage over to the Manitou Islands, which is a provincial park that they have there. This is the shoreline for a lot of the islands there. It's all sandy beaches there, quite popular with the locals on the summertime during the weekends. I went during the week, you had the place almost to yourself. That ride coming across is only about a 15 to 20 minute ride depending on weather. It may look a lot farther on here, but that's what it's a bit deceiving to you. I was actually quite surprised with how quickly you could get over to these locations. From that, I also made a run from North Bay into the Upper French River. Absolutely beautiful to see. One of the most picturesque areas you can get into with back bays where you find little rapids and waterfalls. They have campsites that you can camp out on that you just pay about $10 for the night. It's an app that you can do through the Ontario Provincial Park apps. A lot of people ask me, they see photos of this where I've got the SeaDoo tied up to, there's rock all around it, right? I tell people, we're in Ontario, there's rock everywhere. It's very rare that you find sand beaches like this. So you will get scuffs on your SeaDoo, you will get scratches on it. If you don't have scratches and scuffs on it, what have you really been doing? You've been keeping it nice and easy. The one thing that I like about it is really surprising, there's a lot of locations. So what you don't see is there's a little bay right here. And I was able to bring the SeaDoo in, tie it up. It's right against the rock there, but it's secluded, so it's not going to get bounced by wave. It's not going to get bounced by wind. So really, the most scratches, scuffs, and dings and all that I get on the SeaDoo is going through the locks. Waiting at lock bays, they've got all concrete there. It really does a number on your SeaDoo. Rocks like this and out in places like this, if you're careful and know what you're doing, hardly causes any damage to your SeaDoo. From that, there's a few marinas that you can actually launch out of. I've launched out of multiple times the North Bay Marina. It is a marina, so they charge you about $20 to launch. The beautiful ramp, concrete pad, easy to get in and out of, good access to it. The one thing I do like about this marina is if you are looking to do some camping or overnight camping, you can they'll do up to 3 nights of parking for you at the marina. So so you can go out to the water. If you're not into doing that, I found that there's a free ramp called Sunset Park, which is located near most of the actual hotels up in the area. From there, again, it's a small little municipal ramp. It does have a concrete pad, but depending on the water levels, you may go a little over the pad. It is a gravel bottom, so you're not going to sink into it. Not a ton of parking there, so it's kind of one where you get in early. Or, as I said, if you have someone that's with you, you can actually launch. They can drive your trailer car back to the hotel, and then throughout here, there's pathways to get out to the beach. You just come across and meet them on the sand and go for a spend the day. If you're looking for someone coming from the other way on Lake Nipissing, Sturgeon Falls is a great little area. It's a nice river that comes off of the lake. There is a small little public marina here. Again, not a lot of parking, 5 to 10 spots, so if you're going to go there, go early. There is a marina further down the river, but again, that is a marina charges that you'll have to pay for. The Parry Sound area is, again, one of those ones where you just, the options that you have for things to do there is unbelievable. So again, launching out of Parry Sound, you can go south all the way into the Massasauga Provincial Park. Again, beautiful protected waters. If the Georgian Bay is getting a bit rough, you can dive back and follow the small craft route all the way through to some waterfalls, other little beautiful gems, some old cabins, and just things that are absolutely beautiful to see up there, the scenery. Or you can go the other way and go up, and there's Franklin Island, which is right here. That's Crown land. That's areas where if you want to camp and not pay, that's free for Canadian citizens. And then, like I said, you've got all the islands of the 30,000 islands to explore. I've spent many, many days up there, probably about a month total over the last couple of years, and I haven't even seen all of it yet. It's just so beautiful to explore. And again, like I said, you'll see that pulling up, a lot of it is, again, rock. If you take care and make sure you line up properly, you're not really going to cause much damage to your SeaDoo. Again, I've been going 5 years plus. I've got scratches on it, but nothing that's caused any integrity issues to the hull.
So you could camp anywhere?
On Franklin Island, yeah, they've got, you'll find campsites that are where people have always gone. It's the easiest to get to. They usually don't like you making new sites, but there's quite a few that go around the island there. But again, that's free camping. You don't have to pay for it. You can just go, and it's first.
You can camp it without the campsite, and
Yeah, so the ones down here, these in the Massasauga, those are paid campsites. I don't, they're nice, but again, they charge you a fortune for those now. It's like $40, even if it's just one person. So I like to go up and around here and go for the free camping. I'm cheap like that. So with that, there's 2 ramps that are in the Parry Sound area. The one that I recommend and go to the most is the Champagne Street boat ramp. Again, tons of parking to it. With this ramp, you can actually park overnight. It's $10 a night to park there. And again, you book that through the township's website. You just click on, put your visa in and your license plate, and you're good there. There is, I think it's almost, you can camp up to a month, park up to a month there, I believe, or 20 some odd days before you have to renew. But if you're just doing a couple nights on a weekend, it's handy. Really good ramp, as you can see, good dock system to get into, really easy to get out of. The other one, though, if this gets busy, especially in the summertime, it can get a bit busy, is on the north side. So we were launching down here. On the north side of it is the salt dock ramps. This one's got tons of parking there because it's where they usually put the salt for the winter. By summertime, that salt's gone. You can park pretty much anywhere there. Again, it's a small ramp with a little dock to it. This one gets used a lot by fishermen. So again, you want to make sure that you know what you're doing. You're in and out and parked quickly. I do not believe this one has overnight parking. I've not seen that on their website. But again, like I said, who knows what they're doing for 2024 yet. You'll find that out usually around just before the May long weekend. They start putting their rates out. If you're down here in Lake Ontario, there's always so many things you can see around here. Starting off with going down right into the harbor and getting to see the Toronto skyline is always a great highlight. Being able to go out to the Scarborough Bluffs and seeing the bluffs from the water. You can get down to Port Credit, and they've got this old boat that they've sunk to kind of use as a protection for the harbor. If you get down into the Hamilton area, you get to go under the bridges. and just have a good old time exploring around there. You can go, I've done it where you can easily go from Toronto all the way down to Hamilton and back on a tank of gas. Again, weather dependent on waves and everything, but it's an easy ride to do. With that, there's a couple of launches that I recommend to go out of. If you're coming from the east end, obviously Scarborough Bluffs ramp is great, has a nice pad to it as you can see here. It's got lots of parking. It can become very busy on the weekend, so again, timing your launch and retrieval is very important to it, but it is a good ramp for that if you're coming from the east end. If you're coming from a kind of mid-Toronto, then Humber Bay is the next ramp, similar to Scarborough Bluffs. Got a nice 2-pad system to get in here. Nice parking lot. Usually during the week, the parking is free at these sites, and then after 5 o'clock they usually charge, and weekends they charge to it. Again, you can see here a nice easy ramp to it to get in and out of. These obviously can be very busy, and they obviously have a lot of new boaters that go out to these ramps, so patience is needed when you're going to these ramps. Making sure that you take your time and you do it right, and understand that there's some people that may be learning while you're there. The other one, if you want to go a little further towards Mississauga and towards Oakville, is Lakefront Promenade. Again, a huge amount of parking lot. This one is a free ramp, so you don't have to pay for parking, you don't have to pay to launch. So very good ramp for that. It's not a huge ramp in regards to coming in and out of. So again, patience is needed if it is busy there. Usually in the summertime, they have a marshal that will help direct traffic in the area. And if you go further down towards Burlington and the Hamilton, there's the famous Fisherman's Pier. Bit of a basic ramp, a little bit of a concrete pad. I do know they've been working on this over the last couple of years. And I think they're trying to fix up the parking lot and make it a little bit more friendlier and easier to get in and out of. But again, a nice little ramp if you're coming out of the Burlington area. A new one that I went to this year and found out was an absolute beautiful trip was down to see Point Pelee. So you get to see the most southern point of Canada. And with the SeaDoo, I was able to actually pull right up onto the actual most southern point and have that. You really can't get in too close with any other boats because it is quite shallow on either side because of the spit that it has here. In this, you're launching out of Leamington, which is about here. You can come right along the shoreline. Again, you want wind protection, so you want a kind of a northeast wind on those days so you can have absolutely flat, calm water there. From there, it's about a 25-minute ride from the point over to Pelee Island. Along the way, you'll see cruise, Great Lake freighters that you can pass by. There was this old lighthouse that was there it used to be a channel marker before they've gone to the satellite tracking system. As you can see, I put my drone up to have a quick shot of it for one of the videos. And what I didn't realize is right over here, they have an air cannon that's supposed to keep the birds away from the lighthouse. I can tell you, it does not, but it terrifies SeaDooers when they're not ready to hear a cannon get shot off 5 feet from them. I thought I was being shot at by Americans. I didn't know what was going on. But then I figured out when I saw that it has a sign that says air cannon. So good little fun to it. A beautiful place to explore. Obviously, we went over to Pelee Island. They have some great history there. Like this lighthouse is from the 1800s and it's still standing there. Wonderful fishing that you can do if you're interested in fishing. Fun for that. And just a great day. We were able to stop here. The ferry comes in from Leamington, comes into here. We found that there's no actual dock to tie up to there. They only have a ferry dock, which you're not allowed to tie up to. So we found a little sand beach that we were able to tie the SeaDoos to a tree, and there's some nice restaurants that were there. On our way, because we came down this side around and then up, we found that once we got to here, we did find that there was a marina that had docked, and there was restaurants there as well. But the view you get looking west from there was absolutely beautiful, so worth a little bit of extra work to it. So from there, we launched out of Leamington. Again, it's a marina. It's the municipality. So again, lots of parking to it, a nice ramp. They do have a dock master there that will help you. I believe it was about $14 for the day. Again, very reasonable, and gets you out and can have a great time on the water exploring that area. If you're down there, this is one of those ones where you've kind of gone for a weekend trip. What we recommend, or I recommend, is you do the Leamington area, and then I drove up and stayed overnight in Sarnia, and then went out on the water and did the St. Clair River all the way down here into St. Clair. Absolutely beautiful run. This is the launch in Sarnia that we use. So again, a beautiful boat ramp, lots of access to it. The hotel I stayed at is literally just right above there with multiple restaurants. So again, a great place that you can stay and be 2 seconds from the launch and get out on the water and make your day from there. And as you can see, again, they have a really good setup for their boat launch there. Number 8 is, again, when you're going for a trip, Ottawa River. The Ottawa River, especially right around Ottawa, has a lot of beauty to it to explore. With that, it does break up, and I found they have a lot of dams that break up the Ottawa River, so you can't run it completely straight. There is the, where are they? These falls right here kind of cross right in the middle of Ottawa. So the first one I went on was, I went and launched out of a marina here just on the other side in Quebec. I'll show you in the next slide. And was able to go south down the Ottawa River, and just an enjoyable ride, not too busy. Get to see sites like an old abandoned lighthouse, the falls, these are the Rideau Falls, and you can even see the Parliament building from the water, so it gives you a different perspective of it, as well as the 9 locks coming down the Rideau Canal out into the river. Just a beautiful place to be. The next day, what I was able to do is go a little bit further to the north side of the falls into Nipissing, and go up the river all the way to a dam that's up here. And again, just beautiful scenery. So you kind of have to split it up into different trips. And again, you can continue up the Ottawa River quite a way, but again, noting that you'll probably have to do a section up and then come back, get your car, drive to your next section, and go around the dams that way. But the scenery is well worth every trip that you go there. So the one I used, like I said, for that first day was the Hull Marina, just across the bridge. So Ottawa's over on this side, just across the bridge, and you're right into it. Nice marina, again, concrete pad, $12 to launch from it. You can see it's a single launch, but it wasn't very busy at all. And then on the next day, I went over to Nipissing, and again, I found a wonderful Nipissing sailing boat launch. This one was completely free parking and free launch. You come out into the marina here and then out onto the river, and you can go north from there. So it's, where is it? It's about right there. And then you can go north. There's some rapids that are right here that you can't really get past, so this little section you kind of have to miss. Number 9 is the Thousand Islands, an absolutely beautiful place, again, to explore. A lot of it, again, is protected, so for wind and weather, you get a little bit more security when you're in rivers, that you're going to have a better day on the water. With this, the amount of historical sites and items that you can see is absolutely incredible. You've got the fort out of Kingston here that you can see. You've got this down here in the bottom right corner is the Singer Castle. You can actually pull up, and there's tours that you can do of that castle. You can actually pull up here on the Bolt Castle, which is another one, and you can do tours from there as well. These ones are in the U.S., so in that case, I recommend, if you are planning to actually stop, take your passport with you. There is a customs booth right there that you can check in with. Otherwise, you can go next to them and around them. Again, it goes to just don't tie up to them when you're in U.S. waters. Then you're perfectly fine. There's ruins that you can find, like this old mansion that was just off one of the islands, and the bridge going across. Just again, the history that's there, the ease of getting in and around. We launched out of Kingston, and you kind of go up one way, back the other way, and in. You can make it a day trip out of it. From there, there's a couple launches that we recommend. So I like the Kingston launch the best. Again, it's got tons of parking to it, and tons of parking up here, and a good solid concrete pad to get into it. At the time we were there was no charge for the parking. There is a marina, but they had a sign saying the launch was free at the time. So depending on what they decide to do each year, I guess they choose that. But again, very nice ramp, easy to get to. A bit of a high bank depending on the water level. So be prepared to do a little bit of climbing. And again, the beauty of it is that's the Kingston Penitentiary right there, the old one that you can do tours of. So you can make a whole weekend out of it as well. The next thing you can do is a little further up. So that was out of Kingston. You can go a little further to Gananoque if you want to get right into the islands to start. The only thing I found with that is, again, it's a very small, narrow launch that's right here on the main road that turns. So if you're trying to, launch your SeaDoo or a boat there, you still have live traffic that is trying to go around the corner there. So it can be a little tricky to get it and a little busy. And then again, the other thing is the launch is there, your parking for it is way up here. Again, 2 to 3 minute walk. If you have a partner with you that can stay with the SeaDoo, then it's great. Otherwise, you are risking, like I said, that it is a busy ramp that people get to. So just be aware of that. And the last one we're going to talk about, and the one that I spent a lot of time on this year really exploring, was the lower French River. So just going up the 400 takes about 2.5 hours to get up there. So it's an easy ride to get to. You have absolutely beautiful scenery that is hardly touched by anyone. Not a lot of people go around there. And the beauty of being on the SeaDoo is most boaters could only get into this section. You can get all the way up and further. So a lot of them stop right here in the bay here. With the SeaDoo, you're able to actually make it all the way up. And I went, on my first trip, I went from launching at the Key River all the way out through all the channels through here, explored up through there, all the way down along this, into there to Smith River, or Smith Falls. And for your question about gas, that was roughly just less than half a tank. So, or just over half a tank, sorry. But because I knew I had to go back, I stopped and got gas there. I did not use any of my 20 or my other one, but that's the distance I was able to travel on 3/4 of a tank. And again, you're dealing with rapids, so there are points where you're hitting more gas, but that's based off of like 55 kilometers an hour, pretty flat water. But again, you can see scenery that like this. It is a bit more of a technical area because you're dealing with narrow chutes. I will say going through this rapid, I always thought it's going to be super shallow. When I went through and checked my depth finder, there was 16 feet of water still underneath me here. The only problem is I only had about 1.5 feet or 2 feet on either side. So the real trick is, knowing that with a personal watercraft or with a SeaDoo, you need to actually be moving to have control of it, right? So as counterintuitive as you actually have to gas it to get through the rapid, it's better to be going fast and just hit it and go through it. Again, this right here had 21 feet of water underneath it, even though you're still seeing a ripple like that. So once you go through it slow, like a lot of time when I was first there, I recommend go slow, check it, make sure. Once you get used to it, and like I said, you'll see on that Garmin map, you can retrace your track. You'll know, excuse me, all the places that you can get through with it. For that, the easiest places to launch from, there's two. There's Key River. So this is coming from Toronto up. Key River is the first one you'll come across. And then the next one is Smith Marine further up, depending on where you kind of want to go out of. I recommend going out of Key River. It's got a nice, it's a little ramp there. There's no gas at the ramp, but there is a gas station right up there, which the mouse doesn't go to, there. So if you need to refill your jerry cans, that's how I've done it. And they have parking there. I think I paid $50 for 4 nights plus launch. So $10 for the launch. And like I said, it's a decent ramp. Up there you kind of get the best you can get. The other one I went to, and the one that I made it to get gas, was Smith Marine. Again, they do have gas on site. There's a ramp that you can launch off. It's a gravel ramp, and they do have some parking there, but not a ton of it. So those are the two areas that are easy to explore and get out and spend time over there. So that's it. We've made it. We did it. Thanks for paying attention and sticking around and hanging around. If you have any questions or anything, we're pretty much at the end of my time, so I'll just be out in the hall here if you do have any questions that you want to ask.
Do you have to take classes to get into this guy?
No, I took no classes.
So you just bought it and then?
I bought it and went. Risk is on the owner, right? So now you do have to have a boating license. You do have to get insurance. I recommend getting insurance to it. But there's no class in regards to getting out to knowing these places. A lot of it has been trial and error. Can I get here? Can I do this? Where to go? And it's just been fun to get out and explore it. So,
how long will it take you to feel comfortable that go on your own?
I've been boating my whole life, so I grew up on the water. But to get out to do trips like this in the middle of nowhere, that's taken a little bit more time to build up my confidence in regarding to the gear and knowing my situation. So like I take with me, when I go on trips like this, I'll take a GPS tracker that can send my location to my fiance, and so that she knows where I'm in. It has an SOS button. If anything goes wrong, I just flip it open, press it, and you get Coast Guard, OPP, all of them come, and it gives out your GPS location. So if you ever get into an emergency situation, I always carry that pretty much anytime I'm out on the water, regardless, because even if you're out on Georgian Bay, there'll be sections of that water that doesn't have cell coverage. So you want to make sure that you can get a hold of someone. But again, a lot of it is learning as you go. I've been stuck in thunderstorms that I didn't see coming. I've been stuck on crossing a lake that the waves came out of nowhere. But the gear like that, SeaDoo, has not failed me yet. I've had it 5 years. I've never flipped it. It's never broken down. It's had, as long as the thing is, the key is do maintenance on it. I do a spring and fall maintenance. Regardless, I take it to my dealership. I make sure they check over it every spring and fall. That way, I didn't do anything to it. I know that it's, been looked at by a professional. It gives you that little bit more peace of mind. Again, anything can go wrong. You can suck up weeds. You can get rocks. But if you're careful and know what your SeaDoo can do, you can go to these wonderful places and not really worry too much about it. A lot of it, you'll hear people talking about sucking up rocks or weeds. The real trick that I've come up to is if you go into a section that has this, just let go of the trigger. You have a little bit of forward momentum without holding the trigger down. It doesn't have enough thrust to really suck up a weed or suck up a rock, but it's enough to kind of get you out of the way. Most people tend to panic when they get in there, oh, I'm in the weeds, and they'll hit the trigger, and that creates a huge amount of suction in the jet pump, and that's what gets you into the trouble. The key thing is, like I said, again, knock on wood, 5 years I've been doing it, and I'm out in all these back little places that you see in the middle of nowhere, and I've had no issues with it. The other thing is, if you're going into places that have weeds, obviously you got to be willing to get wet and go under and try to get stuff out of your impeller. I had one time I was going up the Trent waterway in between one of the locks and sucked up a garbage bag, a black bag, and that black water, you can't really see it. Sucked it up. I had to kind of push it off to shore, turned it around, pulled the back end up on shore so I could look in, and took about 3 hours of trying to pick the plastic out. Usually what I carry along is, because I do a lot of fishing, I'll carry one of those, what are they called? Pliers, long needle nose pliers. They're about that long, so you can reach in and kind of grab anything that gets in your pump like that. But again, I've only had that happen once in 5 years of going out on the water. So a lot of it is just paying attention to your surroundings and making sure you know what your SeaDoo is capable of doing. So, anything else? We're good?
Quick question.
Yeah, of course.
When you fly up at night,
Mm-hmm.
are you concerned with theft or anything like that?
Well, it depends on where you are. I mean, when you're out in these remote places, no, not at all, right? I've never been concerned about that. There's certain videos and trips that I've done where I'm going through like the Trent waterway and you're just camping at night. I'm not camping too far. Like you can actually, I put a tent up right where next to the SeaDoo. I've never had any issue with it. Usually when they're that small, I mean, I've got the key with me, so they would have to deal with me if they're trying to do anything. Same thing, even if I'm in the wilderness, I'll make sure that the key is with me in the tent. It's not anywhere like in the SeaDoo. A lot of it, the only thing I really ever do is if I'm in a marina overnight or for a long period of time, I will take the Garmin part of the thing off just for a little bit of security. But again, in regards to overall, no. I mean, if you don't have the key, you're not going to really be able to do anything with it on the water, right? And it can't be duplicated. So the odds are, unless someone tries to tow it on you, but you'd probably hear it if you're around the area, right? So, but no, the only thing that would be of issue is, like I said, the cooler, the link attachments, obviously, that's the most thing that I worry about. I've got now, they sell an actual lock that you can put onto them. So you put it on, then you put the cooler in, then you can actually lock the cooler. So unless you have the key to get it out, they're not going to get it off the boat either. They can open the cooler and take all your beer, but I mean, That's fine. That cooler is like a $600, $700 cooler. Take as much beer as you want. Leave me the cooler, right? So, but again, that's the thing is, same with fishing rods. I've got them on there. A lot of time I won't keep them in the holder. I'll lie them down in the gunnel just so they're not sticking out and advertising that they're there. But like I said, 5 years of going out, I've never had an issue. And I mean, the one time I was worried about one thing was I had to spend the night at Fenland Falls because I didn't make a lock. And so I just pulled up and spent the night there. But again, one of those ones where you kind of stay there till about 11 o'clock at night and then, nothing really happened to it. And I put enough, I got ropes around it. I wasn't too worried about it. And a lot of times, like the locks, they have cameras as well. So if you're in that blue area camping, you're pretty much the boat is on camera in some way. So like I said, it's a risk. I would say if I was down here in the GTA, not to say it, but anywhere around here, no, I would be hesitant to leave it around here. The further north you get, the more relaxed I would be with it. But I've tied up in Port Credit and gone into town for dinner and come back and it's there. I mean, a lot of it, if you're tying up in marinas, they are very secure, and there's a really tight-knit community there that usually looks after it. And you say, hey, I'm just going into town. Do you mind keeping your eye on this while you're at your boat? Most of them will say, yeah, no problem at all. So I've never run into an issue like that. But again, it's a good question and good thought to have. But there is some devices, like you can put a latch lock on things, and you should be good for there.
Are you typically alone?
Most of the time, yeah, I would say like 80% of the time I'll go out on my own and do the adventures. The reason why, I do group tours and I go out with my fiance, and I've got the SeaDoo Switch, which is that new pontoon one. So I'll take family out on that one. But on the GTX, that's more, I'm going out to explore and see what I can find. I do group rides with it, but when I'm doing these videos, a lot of time I have to explain to people, it's not what you see on camera. There's a lot of start and stop. There's a lot of going, oh, this looks great. Hold on, I got to circle back, get the camera out, line up the shot, film it one way. Well, maybe I should film it this way because the sun's that way. Oh, let's put the drone up. So for me, I take that, time to do the shots. If you're coming out with me, I've had people complain that they're like, oh, I thought we were just going to go and ride. I'm like, no, man, I gotta make a video out of this. So that's one thing I do say is I do rides, and we're going to be doing more rides this year with people. But when I go out most of the time, like I said, to get a video, I don't like burdening people with me going, oh, I got to get the right shot and all this, right? So, but yeah.
Plus his fiance doesn't like camping.
Yes, that's a great feature right there. She does not like the camping, so I haven't found a way to convince her of that. So, but yeah, no, it's, and a lot of the time nowadays you'll find there's a lot of other SeaDoers out there, so you're not really ever too alone on it. But it's a great time to get out and gives you that little peace of mind and a break. And the security and safety of these machines now from breaking down is actually quite good. So, a good amount of peace of mind with it. So.
So of all the trips, which one is the must do?
I have two. I've been absolutely blown away by the lower French River for the fact of with the SeaDoo, you can really, I always thought, oh, you got to go in with a canoe and paddle. And I found, no, I can get into a lot of places with the SeaDoo that canoers go into. So to see the beauty of the lower French River is just worth it 100%. Tobermory, again, to see that crystal clear water, it'll just blow your mind away with how beautiful it is. Those are probably my two favorite trips. The Point Pelee one I actually really liked last year. I thought it was a really fun trip. It's not one I would say is a multiple date, I wouldn't keep going back to it, but every couple of years maybe. But Lower French River, Tobermory area, and Parry Sound are every year a must. I do at least one trip to each one of those locations a year. I might not film that one because I've maybe filmed it the year before. I usually try to go a couple of years in between when filming a location just so that you're like, well, you were just there, and you don't want that kind of repetitive to it. So, but yeah, no, those are some of the top ones that I would recommend. I mean, again,
Really start in the year.
I start usually, end of April, beginning of May. I mean, the thing is when you're going north, that April, May to May long weekend, you're pretty good to not deal with bugs. As soon as you get into May and early June, I won't camp at that point. Black flies, the mosquitoes, it's a nightmare. So a lot of my camping stuff is early spring, late fall. And then during the summer, I'll do the one-offs to, go out and do Rice Lake or the Ottawa River. I'll go up to Kingston and do that because you're not really spending a night out. You're just on the water going from there. So, but yeah, early May, April, late April, early May, depending on weather conditions and ice. And then my last ride's usually last weekend of October, early November. So I was off the water by first week in November this year. So a good amount of time. It gets cold. There's certain ones where you have to dress up and dress for the occasion. And a lot of people have been asking about, so I'm going to do some videos in the off season about, what do I wear? Like, do you have to wear a dry suit? Do you have to wear a wetsuit? And I'll say no. Like, I never wear any of that. On these ones, unless you're trying to get wet, you're probably not going to get wet. So, it's one of those ones where it's a unit that is designed for comfort and to keep you dry. So unless you're jumping waves or, it's really rough, then kind of plan for what you're doing. But otherwise, you can get away with just some, I use a lot of the Columbia PFG gear, the fishing gear that they have. So the pants, the long sleeve, just to keep the sun off you. That's the key thing is on there is you get a lot of sun on these things. So making sure you're prepared for that.
Is the channel still active on
Oh, yeah.
season?
Yeah, so I'm filming the video right now. So this will go up in a couple of weeks on channel. I've got videos of recording all the new SeaDoos and Yamahas that are coming out, so I'll do quick ones like that. And then, we'll put out some stuff in the spring. But usually, like I said, from May through till December are the videos. So we don't, if we had riding ability all year, they'd be coming out all year. But unfortunately, we get this gray, crappy weather now, so. Nope, so that is, not even when I was doing that. That is honestly, it's the PFG masks. So it's sun protection, that's UV 50. So you're not getting sunburn. You're not getting windburn, that's the other thing. And then everyone keeps out how I keep my hat on. Well, I just have that over top of it. So it holds it in place. And I will tell you, like I said, June, July, not so much on, but June, July when you're out there, I do not like swallowing bugs. And it keeps the bugs out. You will be shocked. Sunglasses and a mask. I mean, people laugh at you, but I have taken one too many black flies, and I don't like it. So that's the whole thing to it is, again, and I've got the gloves on because a lot of time when you're riding all day, you'll burn the top of your hand. So I've got PFG gloves that it keeps your fingers out so you still have the control, but again, protects your hand there. But yeah, no, that mask, I've worn it from almost day one just because, I've gotten sunburnt way too bad one time, and two, the windburn, especially spring and fall, it's almost as bad as sunburn. And two, you look really cool sometimes with a good design on it, right? So, but yeah, no, I highly recommend it. Again, it's one of those ones where it gives you that little bit of protection for yourself as well. All good? Anything else, or? No problem.
Longest trip that you have?
Days-wise or kilometer-wise? Days-wise was been 5 days. I did a 5-day trip where I basically kind of did like a Parry Sound up through all the islands back and kind of looped my way around a couple of years ago. Oh yeah, I mean there's marinas. The beauty of it is there's marinas all over the place. I don't like paying marina gas prices because it's ridiculous. So usually I'll find a place that has an actual gas station. And again, I'll take that 20 liter and just go grab it cheaper gas that way. But again, marina gas is fine. The problem is they usually try to get you with super gas and charge you $5 a liter on it and stuff. So I prefer paying the $1.40 for regular gas, but it is what it is. But yeah, no, time out on the water, 5 days has been the longest. I'll probably be looking at something around that again this year. But Yeah, there's marinas there. You'll never not find a place that you can't get gas as long as you plan your routes out and know where they are in advance, knowing how much your levels are in the SeaDoo. So lots of safety there in regards to that. So good. Well, thanks so much everyone for coming out. Appreciate it. Have a great rest of the show, and hopefully see you on the water. Enjoy it.
Thank you so much.
Cheers.